This is Ludonarrative Dissidents, a podcast about tabletop role-playing games, how they're made and how they're played. Over the next hour, 3 experienced game designers, Ross Payton, Greg Stolze, and me, James Wallace, will field strip a game or supplement, discussing how it works, how players use it, and what we can learn from it. Read show notes for each episode on our website, www.ludonarrativedissidents.com, where you can also join our Discord server, and find links to our library of previous episodes. But for the moment, enjoy this episode of Ludonarrative Dissidents.
Hello and welcome to Ludonarrative Dissidents. This is Season 3, Episode 16. This is Red Market's Trabajo, a city supplement for Red Market's. Trabajo is an enclave in Red Market's parlance. It is meant to be a home base for player characters, and the supplement describes this enclave and who's in it, its economy, and more importantly, adventure hooks for the player characters to participate in. Slight note, I am slightly biased towards this supplement because I wrote it. This is a supplement that was done through the Red Market's Kickstarter, and it was also part of a long, illustrious line of RPG supplements based on a campaign that the author ran. So this is the campaign setting for Red Market's Fallen Flag, a actual play campaign that was done through RPPR Actual Play, where Caleb was the player and I ran it for him and the other RPPR cast members. A lot of this is based on the actual play campaign. Yeah, it is, I think, part of a long line of gaming supplements that is meant to be like, here is a campaign setting, but not like an entire country, a town, right. A place where you know everybody or you know the movers and shakers, and you can have a visible effect on the town's outcome. And players need like a neighborhood, a base, a town, a place where, you know, people know their name, you know, the names of the player characters, where their loved ones lived, and
a place they can touch and yell safe while being chased.
Mm-hmm. That's sort of the idea. And so I wrote Trabajo because I wanted to do a Red Markets campaign out in the West. I placed this at sort of the foot of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, in Western Colorado, but obviously could be sort of placed anywhere where there are trains and cattle cars and slaughterhouses. But yeah.
So, Ross, none of your involvement with this is going to in any way alter your cherished objectivity of and the objectivity of the Ludonarrative Dissidents podcast crew, of course.
Of course not, yeah. Just like when we reviewed Jailbreak, it was very objective and unbiased, yeah.
Yeah. What you're telling me is I should write more stuff so we could review it. Okay. We should also say that we covered Red Markets itself in Season 2, Episode 3, which is still online. You can find it through our website or through Spotify, or just searching the internet for Ludonarrative Dissidents, which implies that you can spell Ludonarrative Dissidents, and I still struggle, Red Markets, and it'll pop up in that magical way with an AI summary, which will be wrong.
I will also throw out there what is available as Red Market's first edition, which was the giant door-stopping slab of a book. It's 450 pages or something?
I think so, yeah.
In small print. But Caleb, the author, has got Red Market's second edition that he's working on, and you can get that for free as a playtest document. I've put this up on the Ludonarrative Dissidents Discord. The Ludonarrative Dissidents Cord. No, that's not anything. But he is soliciting feedback, and my theory is that if you have self-selected to listen to this podcast, it's either because James's smooth British accent activates the ASMR circuit in your brain, or because you're really, really interested in game design,
or both.
Or both. James, could you say cellar door?
Cellar door.
There it is.
Celery.
That's the stuff.
Have I ever told you my favorite joke? Or one of my favorite jokes? The motto of the French Navy? Allo, c'est l'heure.
Ooh.
Which means, to explain it for those who speak no French at all, it means to the sea it is the hour. but when you say it with an English accent, it sounds like hello, sailor.
Nice. So,
it is not the motto of the French Navy.
Yeah. No, I like
you can sign up. You can get the current draft, stripped down for free and make your comments on it, which Caleb he's like thirsty for people to play his game and give him comments so that he knows he's going in the right way. And I trust y'all to do this and to engage with the thing as it is instead of engaging with it as you want it to be, because any game designer can tell you horror stories about getting playtest feedback in return that says, well, why don't you just use PBTA?
Yeah.
Or you should use this system I designed. It's based on rolling 2 D20s, and then it's just 40 pages of their mechanics. Don't do that. Do something good, which is saying, here's what I liked, here's what I didn't like, here's what I thought worked, here's what I thought is holding you back. And, Caleb being Caleb, you can be as mean as you want. It's just going to roll off his back.
Oh.
He was a public school teacher in Missouri. I mean, to convey to him any kind of contempt, you need to be in his presence throwing something smelly at him.
Please don't do that. Yeah.
I can't. In my mind, our listeners all live in cosmopolitan cities like New York and Brussels and Tokyo. So presumably they can't access Caleb.
I've been running Red Market 2nd Edition beta on the RPPR Patreon for patrons, and I actually ran a game of it yesterday, and it works really well. Yeah, but like I had the players send out feedback at the end of it, so. If you want to try Red Markets, it's a great way to check it out. And this supplement, fortunately, basically, it's still compatible because this is almost Trabajo, to get back to our topic at hand, is almost entirely flavor and setting material. There's not much in the way of game mechanic.
It's a small bite. Trabajo is, 32 pages?
32 pages.
So if we spent 2 minutes talking about each page, we would have one of our typical podcasts. So if this one's a little short, or we go off into the weeds a little more often, there may be a reason for that. I liked Trabajo except for one thing. Ross.
The future conditional?
Used it 57 times in 30 pages, Ross.
Look, you know what? I'm gonna throw my editor under the bus. Caleb Stokes, he edited this. He didn't.
Don't you try to deflect this, young man. You were supposed to be the chosen one.
Yeah. Well, this is before I started Ludonarrative, when I wrote this.
That old excuse.
Yeah.
Ross, when did this come out?
That is a good question.
Because there's no date on the book. In fact, it's singularly lacking in publication details.
Yeah, that is a good point. This was done through the Red Markets Kickstarter, and of course that was done, I think, around 2016. And this was a stretch goal for it, so it took a while. This was added to the catalog on Drive-Thru-RPG May of 2019. Yeah. I don't even know if this is available as a print on demand through Drive-Thru-RPG, but that's it. One thing about this campaign book, or this source book, is Red Markets in the main text has like a collaborative enclave creation system where everyone gets around the table and starts talking about what kind of enclave they want to base the campaign in, and we all sort of come up with it together. Some groups don't want to do that. They just want to jump in, especially if it's like a smaller game, like a one-shot or like a 2 or 3 part game.
Or if you completely beef your local setting and it's like, we can't go back there. They've collected a lot of feathers and they keep a thing of tar boiling just for us.
Well, the other use for this book is as a template to sort of guide your enclave creation, because this Trabajo is about this entire enclave, its history, how does it work, and how does it relate to the region as a whole. And so it sort of tries to paint a picture of what life is like at the micro and sort of macro level in the post-apocalyptic life of Red Markets. So,
God, grime cloth is such a grim concept. First off, the setup in Red Markets it's a zombie post-apocalypse, but the real enemy is capitalism. And so everything costs. You are trapped in a poverty simulator. And a lot of this is, of course, it's like, okay, here's what Trabajo, and Trabajo means work. in Spanish. And the detail from the setting was that when everything went wrong, the people who could flee fled. And the people who didn't have the resources and privilege to escape the oncoming disaster barricaded themselves in the defensible slaughterhouse, and they called their families and said, I'm at work, come here where it's safe. And because they were primarily Hispanic, the word for work was trabajo. And is it trabajo or I don't speak Spanish. I've
always said trabajo, so yeah.
Trabajo. And so, yeah, it's a bitter irony, given the setup and the themes of Red Markets, that the name of the place is just work. Welcome to the town of work. It's, to me, it echoes Arbeit macht frei. I also don't speak German. There's just a huge list of languages I do not speak.
James, I guess, what are your initial thoughts of Trabajo?
My initial thoughts are, off the bat, I love the cover. I genuinely love
it.
It's not representative. It looks like a Saul Bass illustration, for those who know their 50s and 60s film posters, or a political cartoon, because it is very much, it's not representational at all. It's stark in black and white and green, and it's like almost a flow diagram of a factory going down through, and people going through a grinder, and flies and fly eggs, and this kind of compartmentalized person broken up into what they can sell to pay off bits of their bills. It is great. It just sets a tone for the game in a way that you almost never see in role-playing games. Role-playing games love their representational covers. Whether it's high fantasy or science fiction, you don't often get anything that's diagrammatic or not a picture, a straight picture. And this cover is absolutely great, by Michael Plondire. I don't know who that is. I want to see a lot more of their work. I'd like to see a lot more of stuff like this. The cover will be linked to on the webpage, the show notes for this episode, so you can look at it big.
That was in my note too, and it's not his first. There were a number of these commanding Plondera illustrations in the main Red Markets book, and I know that Caleb made some of them into posters, actually.
Yeah, Michael's art is used as chapter heads in a lot of sections of Red Markets. He also did the cover illustrations for two other Red Market supplements, Elevation and Le Corbusier, which are two other Enclave supplements. Actually, he did another one for the Carrion Economy. So yeah, Caleb really likes working with, I believe his username on Blue Sky and social media is Marker Slinger. He does a lot of like Magic the Gathering token art, and fan art like that. He's just a great artist. Yeah. Yeah, very cool dude. Yeah.
He's got that non-representational communication shorthand down really well.
Yeah.
He'd probably have a Pulitzer if he just drew a picture of a tsunami and labeled it, the tariffs or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Who was that cartoonist who won like 4 political cartoonist Pulitzer Prizes, each one of which it turned out was a tsunami labeled something?
Yeah.
Am I misremembering this?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
At the risk of editorializing, awards are a joke a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, in the past, I mistakenly credited Patsy McDowell with those cartoons.
He did some of the interior art, yeah.
I know, because I've seen his RPPR stuff, and, another really talented and interesting artist who's not quite as... he's not striving for photorealism the way that is standard in WotC stuff, frankly, or Magic the Gathering illustrations. I like the non-photorealism in smaller game lines, because it communicates tone really well a lot of times in a way that maybe photorealism wouldn't, and B, because it sets it apart, and you know that this is something a little different. This is something a little new and unique.
Once you actually hit the meat of Trabajo, so to speak, because it's a place that's based around its slaughterhouses.
Yes.
There's some really nice art in the book as well. it's a slim supplement. You're not expecting a fully fleshed out town or city or anything like that. But there are only actually 7 pages on Trabajo itself, or Trabajo. We will continue to disagree about this. And it felt, Ross, you said there's rules in the game for generating enclaves and setting them up. And it felt like the kind of enclave that any players could generate for themselves but if they don't have the time. A bit
shots fired. Damn.
There's strong imagination in here. There's some great stuff. There's great bits of tone. But in terms of the details that are presented to the players to bring this place alive, you've got 3 or 4 NPCs fleshed out. There's a bit of history. There is no map. There are maps in 2 of the adventures, but there is no map of the enclave itself.
Mm-hmm.
Some stuff about the economy, exports, imports, neighborhoods. I love the details. I love the trains. I love the slaughterhouses. I love the NPCs. I take it back. There's a few more NPCs than that.
Yeah, there's the leaders, and then there's the VIPs, which are separate.
Then there's the VIPs.
Yeah.
The thing I need when I'm running a city or running a town is I need NPCs. I need characters that I can just kind of pluck out and drop into a street scene. Interesting traders. Just local color, local personalities.
People you can put a funny little voice on.
People you can put a voice on. Not goblins in tutus in this particular... that doesn't really fit the idiom of Red Market.
God, no.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the slaughterhouses. That's where the goblins in tutus end up.
Yeah.
But there was a book that we actually had on the list. For those who don't know, every so often we run a Kickstarter for a new season of a podcast. And we ask anyone who backs the Kickstarter to vote on a list of rules and supplements and other books that we cover in the new season. And one of the books that I put forward is a thing called City Book 1, which goes back to the early 1980s. It was produced by Blade, which was a division of Flying Buffalo, the people behind Tunnels and Trolls and Grimtooth's Traps. And it's largely forgotten now, but it was in print for a long time. The City Book series are generic city source books, and it's just a series of, I think there's like 50 chapters in the first book, each of them between 2 and 4 pages, and it's a description of a location, the NPCs associated with that location, and ties to the other locations in the books and the other NPCs in the books. So everything's a hook, and everything ties together, and it feels like a living community. And in the early 80s, this was a revelation. And it was interesting to watch a number of other source books from particularly TSR kind of pick up on this idea. I think it's 30 years since I looked at the book, but there's a Lankmar book, which I think for D&D, which I think does similar things. And I remember reading through it at the time and going, this has taken some cues from City Book. And they won a bunch of awards at the time. But that's how I run cities. And I think, as I said in Season 2, Episode 3, Red Markets is not my type of game. It is not a game I would ever see myself running. So I'm not completely familiar with the demands of what a GM or what the players of a game like that would necessarily need. And the tone in particular is very different tone. So maybe I'm reading this wrong. Maybe I'm looking for details in the book that the game and its style absolutely don't require.
Yeah, I can talk about that because this line of supplements that Caleb wanted for the game were very focused and small. So and what he wanted to focus on were the things that would be necessary to, or very helpful to run Red Markets, but the kind of things that most GMs wouldn't think to do. And in this case, it's the economics and sort of the especially things like the import and export. So obviously history of the place. How did this place get started? What does it export? What does it import? What are the emerging markets? Who are the market movers? These are the things Caleb wanted me to focus on because any GM who's used to running games, making good NPCs for a community is a foundational skill of a GM for running a campaign, I think. And it's obviously very good and fun to write that. And if I was given 64 pages to write, I would have thrown in all kinds of stuff like that. But Caleb wanted a very focused thing. I think that the word count in this is pretty small. I want to say 10 to 15,000 words, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Yeah.
Let me comment on your comment, James, from a couple perspectives.
Go for it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like your complaint is, this is delicious. I wish it was 4
critique,
times
not
bigger.
complaint. Yeah. Critique.
Or just, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So part of the reason for that, and this may have been something Caleb figured out that we didn't when we ran the Rain Kickstarter. The gigantic hassle of the Rain Kickstarter, the reason it was so late, on top of COVID delays, which, whatever. But where we really beefed it was the stretch goals and having a large number of them from a lot of different writers and getting into herding cats on big projects that all have to be done by the same time, fit through the editorial and layout pinch of me and Hal Mangold, and then get out to the readers. And we, I will own it. We blew it. We bit off way more than we could chew and thought that we could swallow it in moments when it took weeks, and then we bit off some more. And so I commend Caleb for keeping his stretch goals tight and swallowable. Again, we run into what is maybe a little bit of a recurring theme on this podcast, that the demands of creating the best, most fun gaming runs headlong into the demands of commerce and running a profitable game company, which, to close the circle, is exactly what Red Markets is about, is that what is good for profit is not necessarily good for anything else. To drag this back 15 or 20 minutes, when I was talking about Grimecloth at the very beginning, I didn't get to explain, because I'm like, well, to understand Grimecloth, you have to understand Red Markets. And so there's all these zombies running around, and you can get like a bounty for killing a zombie and taking their ID and proving, okay, now we know this person is dead for sure, right? I remember that correctly?
Yes.
And so there is a market incentive to round up and kill zombies. And one of the things Trabajo does is they will attract zombies into basically a kill box, spear them, because bullets are expensive. It's much cheaper to do this with just manual labor. And it's a lot easier to have some guy work 8 hours on the spear line and then drink himself to sleep. But that in addition to their IDs, they strip them of their garments, again, in this Arbeit macht free vibe. And, and that's Grimecloth, is clothing that was taken from zombies.
Well, they do sanitize it, but obviously it's a pretty brutal bleaching process. So it's very uncomfortable, coarse, and threadbare. It's it's the lowest quality cloth you can get out there. So
yeah, I'm like, this is the darkness of the setting. My note is, like all things Red Markets, this is best read with a big bowl of snack food and a refreshing beverage. This is a good one when you're like by the fire, or you're all warm and cozy, and you've got, like the big bowl of popcorn or something, and you're like, oh, these poor bastards are so screwed. Oh, man. Yeah. Every time they run, they get really hungry, and then they have to decide if they're going to eat now or if they need to eat after they run again. Those poor suckers. And so the other thought I had at random, I'm like, if Red Markets ever gets turned into prestige TV show or a movie, the detail, if I ran Netflix, the detail I would include is nobody ever laughs at anything, even things that are objectively super funny and are cracking up the audience. The inhabitants of the Red Market universe are just sort of stone-faced, and if you make a joke to them, the way they acknowledge it is, that's funny. I'm like, that would be it. That would be, and never refer to it, and never explain it, and never have anyone analyze it. Just present the reality that this is a setting so grim that people don't laugh anymore. They've forgotten what that reflex does. Throwing that out, if I was running the game, I might suggest that to the players, is that, you can make all the jokes you want, but just have your characters react in the most stone-faced way that, they acknowledge jokes with, yes, that's funny.
Characters get penalized for laughing like it's some kind of Netflix special.
Yeah.
Ouch. We're not here to talk about Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
No, there are literally a number of series now where comedians are locked in a room and try to make each other laugh, and if you laugh, you're out.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of... what is that
Everything
called?
has to be...
I can't remember.
Could we just have pleasure? Could we just enjoy things that aren't innately harmful?
Yeah.
The British one was really good, I have to say.
Genuinely,
people in physical pain from trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. That's what I love, is to behold human suffering from above.
That's what
it all.
Red Markets is. Red Markets is about human suffering. You're putting your character through two different types of hell. You're living through the apocalypse, and you still have to pay your bills,
and
not
you're
enough
still
money.
Fucking skinned.
You're still screwed. Yeah.
I mean, and that's sort of the paradox of Red Markets, because it's such a depressing setting. But every time I've played it or run it, it's always been a very exciting, like visceral, entertaining game for players. I mean, there are specific moments that like everyone's like, "Oh, this is really messed up," but most of the time, the players are like, they really get into it because they're like calculating how much can I push it? Can I get that extra bounty? Can I risk it? Like, maybe not. And then like everyone really gets locked in as the mechanics really reward the gameplay loop. Yeah.
The essential seductiveness of finance and is the same as the essential seductiveness of many games is I can choose to push my luck. A lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people love a game with meaningful, impactful tactical choices. And Red Markets has a ton of those, and collectively they are super high stakes. It's rarely going to be the first thing that breaks you. It's going to be like the fifth thing. But when it breaks, you're there going, well, if I hadn't done those first four things, I wouldn't be in this muddy ditch getting my leg gnawed off by this aberrant.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me think of gambling. Again, if this was a long supplement, I might not go on this down this.
Well, we should get to the sort of overall big picture of Trabajo at some point. But what I was going to say was seeing an interview show with gambling addicts and just that there is something in the human brain that can be hacked by money, hacked by a game. And once you combine game and money, oh boy, you're getting hacked from both sides. And that is what I can see Red Markets doing at its best, is that it's got both the economic and but if I do this and run around them, I'll be the smartest guy in the room and put them in checkmate and, draw to the inside straight. So, yeah. And Trabajo definitely plays into that, even in its short size. To just give you an example from Trabajo. So Trabajo, aside from describing the community itself, part of each of these supplements describes multiple jobs, i.e. adventures the players can go on to, earn some money. And the first one is very pun title, Oil Be Back. And it seems to be a simple transportation job. They must deliver cooking oil to a nearby enclave called the Coop. It's a chicken farm. The oil is heavy, bulky, jugs, so it won't be easy to sneak or run with it. So that seems pretty straightforward because Trabajo is a slaughterhouse. It's able to take cattle from rural enclaves that are delivered by train because the trains can run and obviously are protected from the zombies, and they can make cooking oil from the cattle. So trade, But when I ran this job, players, they had to get through some dangers to deliver this cooking oil to the farm, and every job has a complication that the players don't know about. And so I thought for this complication wasn't going to be an external thing per se. It was going to be I was going to mess with the money. And so the farmer running the someone's, that's great. Here are the eggs. And like, what? I can only pay you half. You'll get the other half of the money you were promised if you can bring these, backpacks filled with eggs back to Trabajo, and that was one, like, you could hear a needle drop as everyone just stared daggers at me. The players were pissed. They were angry that I was messing with the money. I was like, and they were like, are we gonna have to start shoot some people in front of their kids to get our money? It's like, well, the guy was just like, I literally do not have the money.
Money's not here.
The money's not here.
Shooting me will not make, I don't bleed money, son.
Well, I told the players, you can loot this place. You can take their weapons and maybe search the place. Maybe he's lying about it. You don't know. You think he's telling the truth. But the players were like, just about ready to murder this chicken farmer for like lying to them about it, and
from sheer spite.
Yeah,
which
being
in the setting of red markets, I mean, there are a lot of people who'd be like, "Oh yeah, I would have shot that fool," and if his family blew my head off, well, then I'd be well shut of it now, wouldn't I? Because I'd rather be shot in a nice clean farm, in a nice clean chicken coop, than be slowly digested by zombies.
Yeah.
It's a great twist on a pick up and a fairly standard format for the pick up and deliver quest. This whole thing of, okay, now you've got to take stuff back. And the twist, the second part of the twist, the oil was in jugs, and the jugs are fragile.
Mm-hmm.
Eggs are beyond fragile. They're delicate. You have to be really careful with them. It's like a taskmaster task, trying to get these bloody eggs back without damage. And there's a lovely chart, and I did really respect it. You first of all lay out the things you have to do in order to transport the eggs safely. And then there's a whole bunch of, and here's what you meet on the way that's going to make it even harder. And none of them is Alex Horne in a suit with a clipboard, but really should have been. It's a lovely piece of scenario design. I felt it was, if I'm going to be hypercritical, and I might as well, it's slightly too long, but it's really tight. It's I mean, just the concept is really tight. It's well executed. I don't think it needs quite the level of detail that you've put in there. But that twist moment, I could see players' faces at that point as you go, what if I don't have money, I've got eggs. Because at the same time, you know that the eggs are valuable. You know that, but also they're so perfect. They're valuable, they're delicate, they're time limited. Because if you don't get them back fast, they're going to go off. Mm-hmm. You can't just leave them somewhere and come back 2 weeks later.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's also because I try to keep it as mundane as possible. It's not like some special MacGuffin. It's cooking oil and eggs, bare bones, like essentials of life. Period.
This is breakfast, baby.
It's breakfast. It's dinner. It's very versatile, and I think everyone's had experience of being screwed by by some shady business owner who's just like, doesn't tell you about something.
I've been in the games industry, man. Industry.
Yeah, exactly. Just a contract. She's like, oh, I forgot. I'll bring it to you Monday. That part. Oh yeah, sorry. Just that slight level of scum that you can't, not worth suing them or do anything worth, but it's like, ugh. And that kind of frustration.
Where they pay you 90% of what you're owed, and you're like, is it worth chasing the rest? I've got to ask you, Ross, have you ever seen a movie called Sorcerer with Roy Scheider, directed by William Friedkin? Was that an inspiration?
Not specifically, but I do love that movie. I love the soundtrack, Tangerine Dream, of course. Big shout out to Caleb. Caleb loves that too. I know he'll love it when he hears this.
Our listeners at home, the plot of Sorcerer, which is...
It's a very Red Markets movie, yeah. But yeah.
What does this title even refer to? This is the most gritty, realistic, blue-collar thing I've seen. So the plot is that there is this oil well on fire, and the people whose oil is being burnt up are like, we got to put this fire out. And how do you do that? You blow it up. But they don't have explosives because they're apparently running some shady marginal operation. So like, okay, the good news is we found some nitroglycerin that can blow this up, some TNT. The bad news is it's not real close and it's old. So this is dynamite that is quote unquote sweating, meaning that it's decaying and the explosive inside it is oozing out the side so that any sharp impact will set the whole thing off. And the main meat of the movie is Roy Scheider trying to get this deadly burden that will blow the shit out of him if he tumbles while carrying it to the
mountain, top of the mountain.
To the oil well. And and he is, I mean, the parts, and I saw it probably 20 years ago. The parts I remember are that there's some flashback to a wedding where the bride has a black eye.
All three of the drivers basically have fucked up really badly and fled to, I want to say Bolivia, but I may be flashing
somewhere
back
in South America,
It's, Sorcerer, incidentally, is the name of one of the two trucks. His working title was Ball Breaker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot more relevant, in all honesty.
It's a remake of a 1950s French film, I believe, called Wages of Fear.
Wages of Fear.
It's a very Red Market saying.
How do I remember that? I can't remember the names of the streets around my house, but I remember that Sorcerer, which I watched 20 years ago, is a remake of The Wages of Fear, which I've never seen.
Well, it's your brain is remembering the valuable information, the good information.
Yeah, I guess.
The stuff you remember, there's the sequence where they have to cross the log bridge in a storm. I think it's in a storm. In my memory,
yes,
it's in a storm.
Yeah. It's like a flash flood. Yeah.
Just a masterpiece of direction and cutting and editing and cinematography. It is harrowing. It's genuinely edge of the seat. There's a sequence with the tree. It's all great.
Yeah.
It did not do well when it came out, but has since, Friedkin regards it as one of his favorite movies. Regarded.
If they'd called it Ball Breaker, I mean...
Yeah, it's
everybody would have wanted to see that.
Yeah, the name Sorcerers definitely did not help it. Caleb actually taught a intro to film class at his high school once and showed Wages of Fear because that, Sorcerers are rated, so he couldn't get that passed. But Wages of Fear is, 1950s G-rated movie, basically. But he said that was the one black and white movie that his students were utterly enthralled by because it was so tense. And so the suspense was so high that it just captivated them. And both films are very Red Markets. It's desperate people doing what they can to earn enough money to not have to do desperate things.
The other scene I remember is Roy Scheider at the end. Just he looks like he cannot think anymore. He's just like jogging down this road with these two cases of dynamite and like breathing heavily, kind of gasping, and his face is so evocatively blank. Yeah. It's like, this man's been destroyed.
Yeah.
If he recovers from this, he'll never recover fully. That's and the name of the movie is Sorcerer. Ta-da!
The name of the truck.
Up there with Jaws as one of Scheider's great performances. But yeah, you're right. It hadn't occurred to me. The thing that I was thinking about is the video game Death Stranding, which for some bizarre reason my Blue Sky feed has just filled up with.
Well, the
Death
sequel's
Stranding
coming out.
That'd be it.
Yeah.
Death Stranding, which is again, there's been a disaster. The world is filled up with monsters, not specifically zombies, and you're basically a courier. But once again, you're on foot, so you're carrying everything, and it's this fantastic visual of this guy with an enormous backpack. He looks like I'm going to when I go to UK Games Expo in a couple of weeks, carrying the contents of my booth in a backpack.
Have fun with that, James. How's your back doing? Have you got those 12-hour time release lidocaine patches?
I'm a stalwart English fine specimen of oak-blooded 58-year-old falling apart. It'll be fine.
Listen to me, man.
I'm sitting down for most of the show.
Speaking as a martial artist, you want them 12-hour time release lidocaine patches, man.
Yeah, Death Stranding is also another good inspiration for Red Markets.
Yes.
Yeah, but this mission in particular reminded me very much of that kind of vibe of basically you're carrying stuff from place to place and then it gets difficult. But the journey is a large part of the narrative and really the stuff that you're going to remember rather than, as with Sorcerer, getting to the end. By the time you've got to the end, you have nothing left. It's kind of, you don't need the vignettes of the colourful vignettes of your enclave and the goblin in a tutu and the rest of it. because you're done at that point. You're drained, you want to pay the bills, get drunk, and fall asleep, which I think may be the point. I'm getting to it now. I'm understanding.
Yeah, please, yeah. Death Stranding was also inspired by boka, which is a profession in Japan of transporting supplies up to remote mountain guest houses. And they use specialized wooden ladder frames. We have the neighborhoods and the major NPCs. We also have the competition, which is not only the other enclaves, which I mentioned, Euphoria. There's also a moth enclave, and the moths are sort of the rebels against the U.S. government. And they have a enclave called Lamp. There is a government enclave called Freedom Settlement, and then there's a biker.
I'm like, yeah, the moths aren't as cool as they sound, but the U.S. government guys are actually worse than they sound.
Yeah, but there's also competing taker crews, which is an important element of any Red Markets game, because there's always competition. Out of them, obviously, I mentioned Fallen Flag, which is the player characters from the RPPR campaign. But if you run your own Trabajo campaign...
is that who they...
Yeah. So that was Caleb's character, and Tom and Aaron and everyone else.
The group dynamic, it says here, is volatile.
Yeah,
those are player characters, clearly.
Yeah, we had Caleb, and also back then we had Faye as a player, and she loves stirring up trouble in games. But I mean, I was most happy in terms of the writing of the Wild Geese, which the Wild Geese is a Catholic priest who runs an orphanage, and he basically has child soldiers who are basically, it's a black math cult with Catholic underpinnings, which black math are the people who are so obsessed with killing zombies that they just, balancing the equation, trying to kill as many zombies as possible before they get
that was
killed.
dark.
Yeah.
I mean, playing as a black math character, if you want to be... Remember when we were talking about Vampire, and I was talking about the player who just wants to choose scenery and be angsty and be like, but how can we ever escape from the trap of our circumstances? That's the black math guy in Red Markets. It's like, I shall die, but I shall I will fly to heaven on a raft of 10,000 zombies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I like doing is, especially in Red Markets, is taking assumptions and sort of playing with them, because most of the time in Red Markets, players that I've noticed tend to assume, out of all the cults in Red Markets, the Black Math are basically the good guys. They're fine. We can trust them. They just want to kill zombies. And so I'm like, well, what if they use child soldiers that are orphans? Is they're so cool? Or what if they want the weapon that you're trying to get in the job, and they're willing to kill to get it because they need to kill more zombies with it?
I don't see killing you for this sniper rifle as murder. I see it as removing a pre-zombie, because let's be real, you would have got bit someday. You would have.
Exactly, yeah.
Clearly, it's tool acquisition.
There's an 82% chance.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen the Wild Geese more involved in the Euphoria adventure. The people who are trying to rehabilitate zombies against child soldiers who just want to kill zombies. I think that could have gone in interesting directions, but perhaps would have needed more space than you had.
Yeah, that's a really good idea to mix those two up. But that's more. Oh, man. Yeah, that would be the start of a job.
Just think how much more you could have fit in if you hadn't used all those instances of will.
oof, yeah.
I'm like black math for the future conditional.
Again, a lot of the design of this is to leave you wanting more, and just to give you enough to get started. And also, again, a lot of these, Caleb, one of these is templates, so people could write their own enclaves and know what they would need to write, because it gives you the bare bones of what you would need to have the people that are going to give you jobs, and the people and what kind of things you would encounter on jobs, because that's what it all comes down to, right? What's the mission? We go out to get some money and come back and spend it. There is one other element there at the very end.
The Deer Hunter.
So
that was so good. Who did that illustration?
That's Patsy.
That was so evocative, and that's such a scary character.
We should explain.
Let me see if I've got the idea of the Deer Hunter right. Is that he is a guy who kills takers and steals their stuff. So he is treating you like your orcs, and he has got some kind of special sauce that makes zombies ignore him. So the most common, persistent, prevalent threat in the game is something that he can not just waltz through, but use as protective coloration and distraction.
Mm-hmm.
And he will set out bait and hire you, get some cutouts, hire you for a job, lure you out to the middle of nowhere, shoot you in the leg from a half-mile away, and watch your friends try and struggle to take you back to civilization while the zombies swarm you. And if you're doing too well, he'll put another one in your butt to slow you down some more.
Mm-hmm. In my campaign, the RPPR campaign, like the way it's written up in the supplement is like, here's multiple reasons. There's no stat block given for them,
right?
Because you really don't need stat blocks anyway in red markets. And here are some multiple stories that have been told about him. You can decide what's true or what's not. But in my campaign, he was, in my head, a latent soldier. Someone who is immune to being turned into a zombie, but like was infectious. He had been deserted by his group of takers, and so he had to resort to cannibalism, and he cannibalized, the undead, the casualties, and that turned him into a special kind of aberrant, where he retained his intelligence to a degree, so he could still use tools, but now was just obsessed with getting revenge, and so he blamed every taker for his being, abandoned. The fact that the casualties ignore him, that it's not even the protective coloration, or it's really the economic power it gives him. He can loot whatever he wants as much as he wants, and so he has unlimited amount of money. He just goes out and just gets money from the money tree and spends it because he can still use Ubik devices and have drones. He never has to meet a person. He's just on Amazon Prime shopping for weapons and intel to kill people with. So he's basically a nightmare for takers because he'll always have the best weapons and he'll always have the best intel. Yeah,
but if you can take him down, you can steal his stuff. He's Mr. Joel's incarnate.
Yeah. So
should we reiterate what Mr. Joel's is for people who maybe didn't listen to the Red Markets episode?
I'm forgetting, I have to say.
Well, briefly, it means just one last score.
Oh God, Joel's is so brilliant and horrible. Red Markets has like sort of a win condition or an end game where if you save enough, you can say, okay, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna head back east. I'm going to work as a janitor and eat meat once a week to get my minimum protein in, and I'll die at the age of 72 in, poverty, but safe poverty. Mm-hmm. And I will never have to shoot another friend in the head because they got bit by a zombie, and that counts as winning. Or I can take all the money that I saved up to get this marginal existence back in the safe lands, spend it on the stuff I need for the one last big score, the mother lode. And if I make this, and it's risky, but if I pull off this post-apocalyptic zombie heist, I will go back east in style, and my kids will go to a school, and my mom will have some guy to rub her sore feet until the cancer takes her. And, and I will live a life fit for a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Mr. Joel's. Just one last score.
Normally that's the capstone of the campaign. That's the big retirement job. That's going to be the campaign job where the GM's going to pull no punches, and go big or go home, basically. And
now,
it's always been fun
has anyone not taken Joel's? Has anyone retired and just been like, nope, I'm just gonna be poor but happy?
Not on the RPPR campaigns, but again, a lot of people have run Red Markets at this point. I think there are some campaigns that have rotating players, like they just come in and out, and so
I mean,
retire individually. Yeah.
If you're doing it for a podcast, you have an extra narrative incentive to be like, let's do the most exciting thing, even if it's dangerous and colossally dumb. So I commend you on your Joel'sism.
The thing that interested me about that little bit is you saying specifically from your campaign. So all of this is or most of this stuff is based on stuff that you have actually played through, and it wasn't that you played it to playtest it. You played it and then based the book on it. as I'm understanding it. So, I mean, that's for a lot of role-playing writers who do a lot of this stuff, that's kind of the way it does, backwards to the way it normally goes. They come up with a concept, they write it, they play test it if they have time, and submit it, and then on to the next thing. But the question I was going to ask is, and this is a recurring bugbear for me with adventures, there's no indication of how many sessions the adventures in this book are supposed to run. And in a classic RPG, it would just be, well, it runs as long as it runs, and as many sessions as it takes. But we're grown-ups. We have responsibilities. Our role-playing time is limited. It's very useful to know what the playtime of an adventure is. What would you reckon the playtime of these adventures are?
Each of the ones I wrote was a one-session adventure. Now, the big thing with red markets is for GM to make it longer or shorter, add or reduce the number of legs, i.e. how many encounters you have before you get to the job. And most of those are like 2 or 3 legs. And so we found through a lot of playtesting, a lot of playing, is that players could usually do their home scene vignettes, the negotiations, roll out, get to do 2 or 3 legs, do the job, and then that's the end of the session. Once the road home is fine, is always safe, because we did all the random encounter traveling before we got to the job site. And red market is very structured on the 1 session per job sort of idea. Now, if you want to do a multi-session job, that would be called a job line, where there's like a set, you do, there are rules for that, but like we always did the one session per job. Now, occasionally it would run over, but like most of the time it was 1 session per job. I'd have to go back and look at the Fallen Flag APs to see if we actually kept to that, but I'm pretty sure most of them were one session.
The more legs it has, the longer, the slower it moves. The exact opposite of animals.
Yeah.
Well, millipedes are not exactly speed freaks.
Yeah, the deer hunter, I foreshadowed in jobs where there would be random encounters where literally the deer hunter would take one of those. Hunters use fake deer and put deer scent on them to attract deer and then shoot them. And so the deer, the aberrant would get one of those things and just put human entrails in it and just put it in the path of the players. And the players are like, what the hell is going on? And so that was foreshadowed at a job. And that was the entire encounter, just this weird, inexplicable thing happening. And then
subtle foreshadowing by the standards of red markets.
And then I had the deer hunter as the complication for a score. And a score is where the players come up with like, hey, there's a big cache of this thing. We can go and get it and make a lot of money if we get it and bring it back. I forgot what the score was for, but it was, looting electronics or some valuable thing. And the deer hunter was just waiting for them and sniping at them the entire time. And I don't think the players actually killed them. They drove them off, but that was about it. Actually, the game I ran yesterday was also a score, but the players decided they wanted to get uranium. I'm like, all right, cool.
Why? What?
It was in leaded cases. It was fine. They definitely didn't ask questions about who was buying it. Don't worry about it. They didn't care. There was definitely a group of government commandos trying to kill them.
What are you going to use this uranium for? Normal stuff like medical stuff, like
jewelry,
radiotherapy, baby.
Yeah, definitely not making some kind of weapon or with it. Definitely, don't worry about it.
I'm not paying you to think. I'm paying you to take.
The jobs I wrote up in the game would be done in a single session. Like the egg, the egg job is like 2 legs, find out at the chicken scene, get back. Like it's Red Markets is a pretty tight game when you run it, when you understand the rules, and
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see great benefits to that structure. Although I can also imagine the exact players who would hate that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like any game, it's not for everyone. But if you like that sort of powered by the apocalypse idea of, there is a tightness to this, or the Puppet Land idea of, well, an hour's an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Or in this case, a session's a session. Your plot beats will come in tidy courses.
Yeah, I mean, Red Markets happens a lot scattered throughout because players can do like vignettes as they're traveling to talk role play, as they're talking about bitching about their lives to their coworkers, essentially, or random encounters can, I remember in the Fallen Flag campaign, the players encountered some bandits, and they're like, well, screw these guys. I'm gonna sneak into their camp and grab some blight and put it in their food supply. And I'm great, cool. On the way back, the players encountered a group of fresh zombies that were running around murdering everybody. And I'm like, oh, how did that happen? And it's like, oh, our actions have consequences, you say. Okay, yeah.
Consequences, those are the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, any other final thoughts on Trabajo?
Yeah. I mean, in 30 pages, it's like I said, it's a small bite, but it's a tasty small bite.
Yeah. I mean, there's a little bit for everybody.
Yeah.
The idea is not necessarily that you run it as your own campaign setting, but you understand what you would need to run a Red Markets campaign setting. Like,
if I was not the obsessive creator I am, this would be like, no, why would I not run this? This is the aging demographic of gaming has a lust for convenience that I don't, and I'm not going to complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is professionally made.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think a lot of RPG supplements don't focus on the economy, and obviously in Red Markets, that's not the thing, because there's multiple pages about like, what do we buy? What do we make? What do we sell? How do we do it? And
I wonder if anyone out there has found a triangular trade route in Red Markets and made that just, oh, okay. If we can take bullets to the refinery and then refined oil to the water purifiers and then water to Bullet Town, we can make a little profit each time. And as long as we don't die on any of these trips.
Yeah.
But that stuff works in video games. In role-playing, tabletop role-playing games, there's a GM whose job is to find a massive wedge and hammer it through the middle of that trade route really as quickly as he realizes what the player character's getting up to.
That, or just turn the whole thing into Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Yes, if we're talking about old movies, that's... which a bunch, I believe, because I've read the Wikipedia entry on Sorcerer, because I'm that kind of guy, people compared Sorcerer to Treasure of the Sierra Madre, which, again, I mean, just that sense of paranoia and that of the world closing in on you is very much, I think, what Red Markets does well. Yeah, I mean, as a template adventure to show, supplement to show what you can do with the game and how things are set up, I think it works really well. The fact that the 3 adventures are not set within the place itself, within Trabajo, but take you outside and back again, means that Trabajo doesn't need to be fleshed out in the way that I was talking about wanting from a settlement, because it doesn't need to be. It's kind of the base. It's where you do your downtime rather than where you do your role play. And maybe some characters would want to go out there and set up a friendly neighborhood bar or something. But again, that's not within the confines of the goal you've set yourself within this particular adventure. And I mean, the more I look at that cover, the more I just think that is such an absolute.
Once I picked up on the maggots on it, I'm like, oh, yep, okay, yep, this is Red Markets, baby.
Yeah, just for setting the tone of an adventure better than any piece of full painted artwork with flashing blades and dynamic spell effects and reflections and stuff. It looks like a simple piece of art, and actually, it says so much more.
Yeah, it is great. We have some framed of from the same artist, some of the Red Markets chapter header art. I'll send you a photo.
Tell your boy Michael to listen to this episode. He'll feel good.
Oh yeah. I'll definitely do that. But so I think that wraps up our thoughts on Trabajo. I'm glad you all liked it. It is available now.
This was longer than I expected.
Yeah. Our next episode is actually another backer curated episode from Christian Bickley, and it is EABA, the End All Be All Game System.
By one of my fellow Gregs, right? That's Greg. Which Greg is it? It's not Stafford.
Greg Porter.
Greg Porter. Okay. BTRC. Yeah. Blackboard Research Tactical Group. No, Blackbird Tactical Research Group. Or company,
Research
or
Center.
Something.
Center.
Yeah.
He was the guy who would show up with the sweatband with horns on it, right?
Every time, every show he had that thing.
Yep.
It's Match a Woman with Guns was one of his. And other more serious games.
yeah, this is a universal system. I'm not very familiar with it yet, but we'll find out. Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. We'll see if he's the dark Greg who uses the future conditional.
But there is a second edition of that, so we'll be looking at that. And there
Okay.
are yeah. But yeah, again, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for those of you who backed the Kickstarter. Thank you, Christian. Check out Trabajo and Red Market second edition beta. Don't forget, play it.
Forget.
Send
Don't sleep on
Caleb
that,
your
people.
feedback. Yeah, he would greatly appreciate it. But thank you all so much, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.